countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Show, don't tell. Here on the Last Comic Shop podcast.
Oh, that's the best writing advice I ever got from school. Very succinct.
We had somebody on who was talking about drawing for comics. He's like, oh, no, writing for artists so that they don't draw like a man opening the door. I think it was J.M. DeMatteis basically telling us when you're writing for an artist, you can't tell them open the door, close the door, or you'll get that, and it'll be the most boring comic ever. Well, we are opening the door to comic book fans, both old and new, young and old, helping everyone come underneath the big comic book tent.
No. This week, we are taking our dipsters and making them extra hipster. We are going off the beaten path into the realms of 1st, 2nd, 23rd. Yeah. We'll be talking about Drome.
I don't know if
later.
it's off the beaten path, though. I think everyone suddenly loved this book. It was getting glow-ups from, like, the Washington Post. So whenever Jeff Bezos' pet project thinks you're good.
I am the host with the most, Andy Larson. I really absolutely loved this book this week.
Because he is a hipster dipster.
I read it at least 4 or 5 times before we...
I could barely read it once.
Oh, man.
That is my wife, Nicole Larson. She's on this week's show because it is an intellectual type show. It's for the hoity-toities as well.
I don't know.
And it didn't have concentration camps. So it's not traditionally the kind of books we have, Nicole.
It's war-torn. It's completely war-torn. It's fine.
We've also got Chad Smith and J.A. Scott.
The other best piece of writing advice I can never share for my students because it's totally sexist, but it works so well. The best writing is like a woman's skirt and has to be long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to be interesting.
In any case, we're hoping that Drome this week is, long enough that it covers the subject, but also short enough that it kept at least my interest. Boy, you know what I loved about this book the most of all? Not a lot of words, lots of pictures.
This is toddler Andrew coming out. I like the picture books, Mommy.
I do.
There are a lot of colors in here.
Show, don't tell.
The one part I was like, wait, what happened? We got into the 80s now. It just went into all this colors.
Any case, one other thing that I like to do in terms of showing and not telling is doing blind ranks. That's right, because you have to show why these things would be where they are in the 1 out of 5 scale without knowing.
This is the opposite. You're just telling us before you're showing us, and then we get all mad. Like, no!
I'm not going to tell you what the next one is. Again, for those folks that have never done a blind rank before, I'm going to give the 3 of these folks 5 things that they're going to then put in a 1 out of 5 scale, but they're not going to know what comes next. That's where the hilarity ensues and hopefully some fun. I've got 3 of them for the opening segment, and some of them involve the book. Other ones, maybe not. But given the fact that Drome is about kind of mythological oeuvre and tropiness and so forth, I thought that the first blind rank we would do the types of mythological gods. Like you had like gods that did certain things.
God of love.
Right, exactly. And so I'm going to give you some, and then I'll give you some of the examples that I found from history. So starting off with the first one, we've got the goddess or god of fertility. Folks like Isis, Aphrodite, Freyja in the Norse mythology, Shiva in the Hindu canon.
Number 1.
Nicole says number 1.
Number 1.
I don't know. I don't know if this is important.
Civilization without fertility.
I mean, the only thing drawing back from number 1 would be like the other god that really helps out with the whole fertility thing, and that's like Bacchus, the god of wine. That tends to just, speed up the whole fertility thing. Oh, yeah. Anyone who's gone to college has found this out.
Too many tannins. Too many tannins for Bacchus to make the list.
That is true. You're playing against me. Am I going to give you the gods of wine on this list? Who knows? But I do need a number.
Nicole was very passionate about it. I don't want to get in the way of that passion. So I will respect the lady.
Okay. Number 1, goddess of fertility is number 1. Moving on, we've got gods or goddesses of the sky. Usually the chiefs of the pantheon. You've got the Zeuses, the Ras, the Odins, the Dagdas, the Tengri.
Sky gods?
Number 1. Yeah,
I think
sky
Goose.
gods.
I think lightning bolts and coming down and making
if they're
time.
sky gods like in Drome, where they like stop having night, that's probably a little important. But I don't know about Zeus with the lightning bolt.
Ra was the god of the sun and the sky. Odin was technically also one of the sky gods. Again, they're usually the chiefs of the pantheon.
They're usually dicks, so I put them like 4.
Oh, wow. So I thought these were the heavy hitters. I thought we were.
Well, they are the heavy hitters, but they're not interesting characters. So going behind Hera's back, turning out to be an alien with a Stargate, and then Kurt Russell kills them with a nuclear bomb. So
4 it is. We're moving on. So we've got our 1 and we've got our 4. Coming up to the third one on the list, and that is the god of war. We've got Ares. We've got the Morgan. We've got, oh gosh, let's see if Nicole can pronounce that name.
Lipocitoli. Since I
Or,
What's a Chipotle?
yes.
or Sexament.
Why did
Second.
you research these names knowing there was no chance you'd ever be able to pronounce
Because that's what people tune in
that's
for.
what people
they tune
come
in
for.
for
You're Andrew
me
Butcher.
butchering foreign names.
Kids love extra consonant sounds.
In any case, the gods of war, the goddesses are gods of war. Where do they rank?
I say gods of war. What are they good for? Nothing. Good God. 5.
5. I agree.
5 it is. Moving on to the 4th one on the list, we've got the gods of death. Hades, Anubis, Hela, Kalima. Shimshi, shimshi, shimshi.
What is he doing right now? I don't understand.
Or Erski Gilgal. Whatever. Gods of death.
What numbers do we have left? 2 and
You
3?
have 2
3.
and
I would say
2 and 3.
The god of death is 3 because I think that fits well too, because they're often the shepherd between the living and the dead, the
Yeah,
two planes
I
of
want
existence. So they're right in
I
the
want
middle.
that to be a good experience.
Yeah.
You know, crossing over.
Yeah,
I respect the cycle of life and whatnot.
and on this show we cover comic books, and so we know that death in comic books is never ever final.
Yeah, usually a hot lady.
Yeah, she usually is a hot lady. I mean, look at the DC and the Vertigo. She was pretty cute in the Endless. Which means by default, your number 2 is the gods or goddesses of the sea. That's right. So your Poseidons, your Tiamats,
Aquaman.
your Tikaloc, your Mazu, your Mami Wata. That's number 2. I think you guys could have put the sea somewhere else. But long story short, here is your rating from 5 to 1. You've got the gods of war at number 5. You've got the gods of the sky at number 4. You've got the gods of death at number 3. You've got the gods of the sea at number 2. And you've got the gods of fertility at number 1.
I stand strong in our number 1 pick.
And I think number 2 is fine too. Remember, the sea is cold, but the sea contains the hottest blood of all.
I think you messed up. I would have put C somewhere else. I honestly think that the gods and goddesses of death are very interesting in some of their stories. They usually are the
interest or importance.
I don't know. I just think they're cool. As all they're the ones that are the antagonists and churn up the pot.
Oh, I was going to say I would have flip flopped the heavy hitters and the sea gods. I think, but I'm not mad at it. I think it's a fine list, and you need the sea sometimes to get those fertility gods interested. Go on a boat. Have a good time.
Put some motion in the ocean,
Moving on.
What is that cake on the ocean?
Okay.
On the ocean.
Enough. Moving on to the second
like 10
round.
years old already. Can you please?
Second round of blind ranks. Given that Drome has an extremely powerful female protagonist, I'm going to have you folks rank these powerful female superheroes.
Okay.
All right. We're going to start off with the first one. That is Sue Richards, a.k.a. the Invisible Woman.
Mama Bear, number 3.
Oh, see, she's deceptively powerful.
Yes, I know, but she's not better than Wonder Woman, and she's not better than Barda, who's number 1. So doesn't matter.
Don't forget Scarlet Witch could be in there too. At least 3 or lower.
3 or lower.
I think he's got other ones.
All right, Jay's made a compelling case. I'll go with 3. I don't know if I can go lower than 3 for Sue.
Wow. So Sue is coming in at the 3 spot. Moving on to the next one, that would be Storm. So Storm.
Hold on. I have a thing. You have this list, and we respond, and then I feel like you can manipulate the order in which you give us the list. Right?
Yes.
Gentlemen?
It is part of the game.
Can manipulate
Which
us
trickster god is that?
based on what we answered.
I'm reading them in order this time. This is the order that was.
Because I can tell you, fertility was the last one on the list last time. So
all right. Well, this list is as is on this one. Storm, where are you putting it?
I'm holding out for Wonder Woman and Barda, so she's got to be 4.
Yeah, agreed.
So
I mean, it's hard to argue with Storm, but I'm comfortable still with Sue Storm over top just because of the versatility.
Yeah,
that she brings.
Yeah.
4.
No mega level mutant. All right. Going in at number 4. We've got our 3 and our 4. Moving on to the next one. That would be the other survivor from Krypton, Supergirl. Where are you putting Supergirl on this list of top?
She's 5. She's 5.
Yeah. She's going to be big hotness this summer, but 5.
Are you disagreeing with this? You have to.
You said you like showing, not telling.
She's here over here shaking her head. I was just like, no, that doesn't play here. Any case, so you've got your 3 out of 5. Moving on to the 4th one, that would be She-Hulk.
Oh.
Number 2.
You've got 1 and 2 now.
That's 2. And number 1, if it's not Wonder Woman, let it be Aunt May.
That's true. We also, there's a lot of characters.
Wow.
So he could be throwing out like Daisy Duck or something.
He could be
there
good. He's going to throw out Jubilee or somebody.
No, I'm going to throw out the last one, which you guys did rank the most powerful female character in comic books. And I couldn't be more pleased with your choice. But I'm also going to put it to you as to kind of something that you should have figured out as I was giving you these names. So number 1 on your list is the Scarlet Witch.
I knew he couldn't leave me off of there.
Yeah.
Now, as I move through 5 through 1, let's see if you guys could have picked up what I was throwing out and laying down here. So, number 5 on the list was Supergirl. Number 4 on the list was Storm.
They're all S.
Number 3 on the list was Sue Richards. Number 2 on the list was She-Hulk. Number 1 on the list was Scarlet Witch. So you were never going to get Wonder Woman. You were never going to get Big Barda. They do not belong with S's. Sorry, kids.
Neither does Invisible Woman.
But Sue Richards does. You see how I did that? I thought I was being clever. There was a lot of characters I could have picked from.
You could have, yes, Squirrel Girl. Squirrel.
That's right. I'm under protest now.
I think we screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah.
That starts with S too.
I don't think he did. I think Scarlet Witch being number 1, perfectly good list. I'm surprised about Supergirl being so low, but whatever. It's your list.
Does she control the weather? I don't think so.
Moving on to the last blind rank of this show. This one has nothing to do with Drome, unless you want to include the fact that at the beginning of the book, somebody threw a rock at somebody else. This is all about the national pastime that just started in the last couple of weeks. That's right. Baseball is back on our TV screens and on our radios, and I couldn't be more happy. I love baseball season, and so as a result, our final blind rank will be all about baseball, and we are going to be ranking these 5 baseball positions on the diamond. So, the first one, aptly enough, is first base. So in terms of importance, in terms of coolness, in terms of whatever you want to rank it on, I'm just saying you got to rank these baseball positions.
I'd say that's a 2 or a 3 because usually it's a guy who's not as athletic. But he can do the split. Sometimes you get those guys that can do the split to reach out for the base. They're on camera a lot. So they have to be good at chatting up the guy who gets to first base, like the hitter who either walks
What
or
are they, a
hits a
talk
single.
show host?
They're like the team ambassador.
Yeah, they are. They are like the team ambassador. It's a power position, so usually your first baseman is one of your better hitters.
I was going to say, especially in all DH, right? I mean, I always think of David Ortiz getting put out at first base.
Yes. Yep.
When he had to play NL rules.
So it requires a lot of different skills. You have to field a bit, but not a lot. You have to obviously hit, and you have to be very good with gab and be able to chat up not only the batter who gets the first, but also there's the opposing coach is standing right there.
And
You get a special glove.
Yes. Yes.
I need a number, kids. I need a number.
I would say 3.
Yeah.
It's not
That
quite
sounds-
pitcher or catcher.
I didn't know that first basemen have a special glove. I'm surprised my kids haven't asked for that yet. Johanna plays first base sometimes.
Moving on. Speaking of one of those roles that you just mentioned, where does the catcher rank?
Unfortunately, they're not as important as the pitcher, or arguably some of the other fielders, though
They control the game.
Yeah, they
somewhat.
control the game.
Yeah.
And now
they look the coolest. They wear body armor.
Yeah, and that body armor has the coolest nickname in sports, the Tools of Ignorance.
I've never heard that, but that's okay. I was just going to say that they're usually the guys that have to take the hit.
Oh, I thought you meant like Jason Kendall that would just lead into pitches so you can get on base.
That too. I need a rank, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are. They
I
really
think
do.
they're number 2. They're number
They
2
do
in the playbook.
play-
They're number 2 on our list.
They play a huge role in controlling the pitcher's pace,
Yeah.
and there's a lot that goes into it. And I think they're some of the smartest players on the team too, right? In terms
Yeah,
of
but you would never
their
know what to
acumen
look
and
at
knowledge.
them.
No, that's secret smarts.
3 on the baseball diamond is also first base. So far,
Yeah.
we've ranked everyone by their position.
Well, let's see if you follow suit with, again, center
Well,
field.
there's no 8, so
It's too far down.
yeah.
Put me in, coach.
Center
I'm
field.
ready to play.
Now, the thing about center field is, depending on what stadium you're playing in, center field has either a outsized importance or an undersized importance. For example, if you're playing in Pittsburgh, center field is not as important as left field. Left field is a much bigger position. But if you're playing center field in Wrigley Field, for example, center field has much more importance. You're covering more area. So I think it depends on where you play. For example, Aaron Judge plays center field, and he could never be considered a good fielder. But he plays center field in Yankee Stadium, where it doesn't matter, because Yankee Stadium center field is like the size of a paddling pool.
We're getting into being a baseball podcast here. You guys want to reel it back in a little bit from...
The point is, I think, do we want to reserve our number 1 and our number 4 spots for other positions?
Yeah.
So 5.
Yeah, I think 5.
5. Agreed.
All right.
No
Although he
special
could
gloves
give
for
us
center
like
field.
Bat Boy or something, I guess.
Though he could give us DH, and for me, being a National League guy,
purist.
DH is number 5. It doesn't
Well-
get a rank. We're not going to rank that one.
Look at this. My goodness.
But we've got room.
Well, that's what you're getting. You're getting DH.
4.
4.
According to the
Yeah,
DH.
Just
4.
easy. Just
They got hit real good.
they got it. Real
Hey,
good.
as much as I'm a purist, the DH in Pittsburgh gave us a couple years of Andrew McCutchen back in the team when probably if there was no DH, he's not playing in the National League.
No, it does give some
Longevity to careers.
longevity to careers. I think
David
it's,
Ortiz went to
and
play us long.
and as my only baseball nerd aside, I do like the fact that there are just standardized rules across the entire organization versus one group that has these rules and another group that has these rules.
Except when baseball decides that they have to then change the rule and make it special because there's this guy who can pitch and hit, but once he's no longer pitching, we want him to still hit. So
he's a special bird. He's a
He
special
hits real
bird.
quick.
All right, so let me get this straight. So the only one you left off the list was number 1, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make this
no
super
way that
simple
would
for you.
backfire on us 2 lists in a row.
I was never going to give you pitcher because that was too easy. So your number 1 position
Second
is
base.
shortstop.
Ooh.
Shortstop is the number
I'm
1
okay with that.
position in baseball.
That's a tough throw. You gotta be a field general out there. You gotta be able to ready to turn the double play. You gotta be able to know where everybody is.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Kinda
with this as a top spot.
I mean, yeah, I'm cool with it.
Shortstop is also my favorite. So again, like the Scarlet Witch, you guys kind of played right into where I was hoping that you would fall. Any case, let's go ahead and recap these. So number 5 was center field. Number 4 was the DH. Number 3 was first base. Number 2 was the catcher. And number 1 was the shortstop.
I'm very happy with that list, actually. Out of those choices, I think we hit it out of the park.
Oh, look at you. It's like you've been on a podcast before. Any case, that's all the time we have for Blind Ranks. We'll be right back with more Last Comic Shop right after this, where we don't blind rank what we thought of Drome. It had lots of pictures, so I definitely was looking. Stay tuned.
Looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture bric-a-brac, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCSPOD at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD. Cheers!
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what that Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all those games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
And we are back to talk about our book for this week, which is Drome. But before we get started, I wanted to remind you that we have a promo code over at bcwsupplies.com. If you use our promo code LCSPOD at checkout, you will save 10% on all of your comic book supplies, be they boards, boxes, bags. Also, we were talking about baseball season. They've got baseball card collecting supplies there as well. So check it all out. bcwsupplies.com. Use the promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Save yourself some cash.
Well, there you go. So you're going to take all that cash you saved and you're going to use it to track down a copy of Drome. And this was published last year as an original graphic novel. Publisher is First Second, and the imprint is 23rd Street Comics. It's by Jesse Lonergan. And this was, I want to say, one of their first books they put out as an extension to First Second, which has done a really great job with a lot of young adult graphic novels. First Second is here trying to break the boundaries and things for books in the more of the grown-up variety. And they've got readers on their side, librarians, booksellers with a passion for evolving the landscape of graphic novels. So very exciting stuff. And this is a book that made a lot of year-end best-of lists. And so it caught my eye, and I've been badgering Andy to read it on the podcast ever since.
And we're going to get the 10-cent synopsis this week from my wonderful wife, Nicole Larson. Because boy howdy, do I love when she does a 10-cent synopsis on this show. They're so cute. They're adorbs. So where are you going with this?
They're 10 cents.
So imagine this. There's a sky chick and a sky dude, and they send little pod things to Earth, and they create chaos known as effed up humans that are all crazy, and they try to fix it with time and with control, and they create like this chick demigod on the Earth, and then this other guy is red, and then they fight some bad people, and there's lots of killing, and then they fight the sky people, and there's also a glowing yellow fire dude that they push into the ocean and kill. And then the demigod girl goes on this really trippy thing in like 80s color, and then she comes out, she tries to do the right thing, and then this bad guy comes and he turns into the new sky god, and there's night.
As I said, adorbs. Adorbs.
So now you can tell them what it's really about. It's a creation story.
It is.
And it's based a lot in mythology, which, to be honest, guys, not my forte.
That's right.
If you couldn't tell.
I read this several times, and one of the major reasons I read it was to try to find all of the mythological tropes and nods to that classic mythology that Jesse Lonergan was bringing into this story. The first one that jumps out at me is, again, the Epics of Gilgamesh. For those folks that have never read any of the Epics of Gilgamesh, one of the biggest parts of that particular story is the fact that you have woman demigod, I call her Blue. She finds Red, who's like this wild guy living among the animals and kind of free from society or whatever, but also super strong.
He's still a demigod, right? He doesn't die.
Yes, he's also equally as powerful. And she falls in love with him, but it mirrors the relationship between Gilgamesh and his best friend, which was Enkidu, who, again, was a wild man. And so Gilgamesh brought him into the sacred city of Uruk and made him like his best friend and his constant companion as they fought the cedar wood god, which were like, again, this lightning creature, a person of pure nature. And then also eventually they fought Gaibul, which happens in this book too. So there's a lot of the Epics of Gilgamesh in this particular story. The only thing that doesn't happen is a flood, which also was in the Epics of Gilgamesh. But in any case, I loved it. Oh my goodness. Blue and red. And that one guy that couldn't die because
Bandage dude.
He didn't have a name.
This was my problem. I wanted some names for these people.
You wanted words. That's what you kept on saying. Like, your favorite part of the book was when, Blue and Red come to the castle and you get, I brought you some water for your dog. And you were like, snap.
The bad guy calls Wild Red dude a dog.
Yeah. So you wanted more words. Me, not so much.
All right, I feel like we should let the boys talk.
It's true.
Chad really wanted to read this book, so go to him next.
So, yeah, I did not attack this book the same way. First and foremost, as we've talked about a lot, there's not a lot of words here. It's a lot of images and a lot of really weird panel layouts. And my first read through was just experiencing it. And then the second read through, I'm like, okay, I think I have an idea what's happening. And like, I was kind of like making up my own story to go along with the images there. And then eventually I'm diving into like color theory and the additive and the subtractive colors and the CYMK color wheel and all that stuff. And like, and
dissertation in the making.
Yeah. And well, no, it's like this book took me, a bit to wrap my brain around. And so I'm very excited to hear Andy's theories of Gilgamesh, because I didn't approach it from that angle at all. I was looking at it as like, here's a creation myth, and like, in my head, it starts with that idea, and they plant that idea in Earth, and then you get that red guy, not the beastie red guy, but the green and red guy. And this is an idea that's struggling for power and control, and then he sees somebody else pop up, and he's like, I'm gonna crush that guy with a rock. In my head, in this creation myth, it's sort of like when you are starting a project, and it's like, I have this idea that we're going to pursue, and then you get these other things that come in, and like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that if you're going to do this. You have to destroy that. And then all these other, crab monsters come in, and just random chaos until you get that control agent. And she's like, it's pretty wild down there. I feel like you need something else going on. And then they start adding time, and then they add the blue lady, and she starts to control things and gives them language.
Good project manager is what you need there.
You need a good woman is what you need.
Too. I love the fact that the women were actually the ones. They're bringing the civilization. They're building the towns. They're calming us down a little bit. I dug that. So.
Right, but like any good project, like if it's too early, it's not going to work. So you need that wild factor. And then in comes this red guy. And then they fall in love, and then she gives him that other guy's armor as his cod piece. The one guy that initially gets his brains bashed in with a rock, he just keeps coming back. And it's like that part of your project, that idea, you're like, no, that's not going to work. Oh, that's not going to work. And it comes back again. It's like, oh, that's not going to work. But it keeps changing form and growing and getting a little bit better each time until it's ready to work. There was just a lot going on here. I don't know. Jay, what was your approach?
I just read it. I didn't get into form theory. I appreciated the layouts and sort of the overarching mythology themes. I really liked Blue. She reminded me of Barda. The eye patch dude was comically evil.
Yeah.
Almost so comically evil it didn't work. But I guess the end where he, spoilers, becomes form, he goes and becomes the sky god. You just have that sort of life regenerate and things are cyclical. I think that's what they were trying to say, at least.
Didn't you get mad about that, Nicole, that he became the guy that was the...
Oh, so I was mad because demigod chick, right? She has the choice. Like the Mohawk sky lady god gives her this orb thing, and she said you can either choose to bring wild red guy back to life, or you can make it so that there's night again, because the people are suffering because there's eternal daylight. It's scorching hot. There's no food, water, whatever, because there's no night and cool temperatures and whatever. And so she goes to plant it in the ground, and you have the sense that she's going to do the right thing. She's grieving her love, but she's going to do the right thing for the civilization. And then this bad dude comes and eats the thing. And I was like, what the dude? But anyhow, then he becomes night, and then the whole thing happens.
Right, he becomes
But what happened to that dude who's all wrinkly because he keeps dying and not dying? He just
So she dies, right? And Red Dude's dead. So then he buries them and he cares for them. Like, I saw him as like a caretaker.
Yes, he is the caretaker of this whole place. Now, I got that. He was secretly one of the he had one of the best lines in that when Blue and Red go talk to him about finding the yellow, the energy creature, and he's like, "Yeah, we've met." Like being atomized.
But then he comes back.
He has to come back because he can't die. I love those immortal characters, those ones that have to shoulder the burdens of immortality, and how, like, again, whether it's Wolverine or the Eternal Warrior or something, they make for interesting characters because they're just like, wow, you've seen a lot of shit and you just keep coming back. Kudos to you.
And of the very few words in the book, he actually was the one who reminded the two demigods to remember where they came from, right? And that's how they defeat energy.
The yellow.
Fire.
Yeah, the yellow guy.
He's fire, right?
Fire
guy. Yeah.
So I'm curious, J.A., again, whether or not you liked this book, because you said that you just read it. And traditionally, you are, on our podcast, the one that likes to dive into art, dive into color theory, dive into like the deeper meanings behind books and really flesh them out. Not so much with this. Thought this would have been a smorgasbord for you.
Sometimes some books capture me, sometimes they don't. This was just one of those. It was okay. It was fairly interesting. I thought the layouts were the most exciting part of it. I thought the story itself was okay, but as you mentioned, it's not necessarily anything original or fresh. I think it's just how it's told is what makes it exciting and creative. But they're all very old mythological tropes that he's using to build this world, which that's not a bad thing. That's just a thing. I did like when they went back after killing the fire god and they had to climb that massive tall tower, and towards the top of the tower they run into that dude with all the swords again, and the red guy just hits him and knocks him like 2 districts away.
That was one of Nicole's favorite parts, too.
Threw that guy out the door.
You know what was the best part? At times, we were reading it in the same room, and Nicole she would see an interesting image, and it would almost like she would turn into like a kindergarten teacher, where she would like open up the page and she'd be like, "Look at how Blue throws this alligator through the door."
I did think it would make for a great, like, live, maybe not for kids, but an adult, like, story time. Like, if you added some, like, narration to it. No! That's what I was missing. I guess I wanted a little bit more narration from it. But I guess you can make it up in your mind, and that's great.
So I think that's a good conversation topic, and we're going to start off with Chad here. Chad, I like the fact that this book didn't have a lot of words, right? To everybody that's been talking, I'm a visual type of guy, show versus tell. And this one did it in spades. And I love like the 16 panel grid or whatever, and just the way that they show time and some of the choices he used with some of the single page spreads and everything like that. But I guess, did the lack of any sort of words, did that get in the way for you, Chad?
Well, I think you're seeing that play out in some of our reactions, where for some of us it's a feature and for some of us it's a bug. Just like in comic books, and we were talking earlier about JMD Mateus and talking about how you have to leave some things in the gutter, for the artists to conceptualize, or for the audience to fill in those gaps, and that's what makes comic books fun and interesting and different than other art forms. There's a lot of gutter here. There's a lot of room for people to bring their own interpretations and to bring their own meaning and to bring their own experiences. And for some folks, that's going to work. And for some folks, you're like, wait a minute, you gave me half a story. You didn't put the words in. You didn't, make it clear what this was or why this happened. And so a lot of it, people are just inferring. And like I said, I can see it working. And for a couple of us, it worked on different levels. And there's really cool images. Like I love the bull and the horse and how they're intertwined, and just some of that imagery. Like sometimes it was just fun to stop and look at how cool the pictures were. And like I said, it took me, 2-3 read-throughs until I felt confident that, like, okay, I think I've got it. I think I've got what the story is. And so that unto itself was a really interesting experience, because this book, it comes at 300 pages. It doesn't read like you would think a 300-page experience reads. It goes through real quick because so much of it is visualized. You get these wild panel layouts, and you get I love the white strings and strands throughout all of the different panels, and all the, there's so much there for people to bring their own into. On that hand, I liked it, and I thought it was a success. But at the other hand, I could also see this not working for a lot of people too, because it's so I don't want to say unfinished, but it's just a different type of experience.
I was going to say, I was the one that was a little critical of not having the words. But that being said, I will say that I think you get the story from the pictures. I think I liked when they did add words, how it added that little bit of zing to some stuff. I liked the little dialogue that was in there. I think for me, especially at the beginning, I guess I wanted someone to tell me who people were, and maybe not just me, but I think by the end I'm like, oh, I get it. And part of it was, like you said, it's almost a interactive thing, right? And especially because Andrew's there and he's talking about this myth of whatever, Gorgamesh or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. But then we were able to kind of create our own take on it. And so I don't know that it necessarily needed more words. I guess I just kind of needed identification. But that being said, we've read plenty of books in the past where I couldn't tell who was who and what, despite all the words. So I honestly don't know that it needed more words now, having finished it.
I showed this to my artist buddy, Mike Fratangelo, who, by the way, currently has his show appearing at Penn State. If you want to go see his refugee exhibit, there's my plug for Mike Fratangelo. He's never going to hear, but all throughout the rest of this month. Because he's my art guy, and I was like, oh, what'd you think? And I love Mike, but he's like, no, this is brilliant. I was like, oh, what's brilliant about it? He's like, oh, just the forms and the colors and the layouts. I'm like, yeah, but what about it? And he's like, oh, it's brilliant. He just kept talking in circles. And it was one of those undefinable things where it's like everybody's kind of just talking out of their backsides. But, the people that like it, we like it, but it's hard to conceptualize it. Yeah.
It's like when artists, when they're a white canvas and they're like, oh, wow, the depth of this. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
What about it?
I was going to say that it didn't bother me that there were very few and sparse words, because, again, like any good story, you don't have to say a lot in order to convey what you're trying to get across. My favorite is at the beginning, within the first couple of pages. You've got Chaos guy, and he creates this earth, and again, immediately springing up are humans that are killing each other, and then giant crabs and giant alligators, and everybody just killing each other. And the order god comes over, looks down, and she kind of just gives this wild things you've created. The amount of disapproval in it's kind of like what Nicole says, and she's like, really, That's what you got from the grocery store. I sent you out for this, this, and this, but you brought back donuts. Like,
I too felt my wife over my shoulder being like, oh, I see what you've done there.
And immediately Chaos is like, they just need time. It's okay. This will work. This will work out. Trust me. Just need time. And so she's like,
every
all right,
dad tinkering in the garage ever.
Here's your time.
Yeah, any mom looking at you and saying, see, they learned that from you. Your kids are learning that from you.
And eventually she steps in and says, they need control. And that's when she puts her avatar on the face of the planet, the embodiment of who she is, who just, again, whoops ass and takes names. And again,
no, she doesn't take names. She doesn't take names. That's one of the problems. I think we covered that already.
There are no names.
There are names: blue, red, yellow,
white fire, dude.
Bull thing, horse.
You know when JA is referring to people as dudes like me. We're very lost for what to call these people.
Dude with 2 swords, guy with eye patch,
dude with 6 swords.
They were all clearly defined for me. I don't understand. Unlike other comic books where sometimes the art is the accentuating piece and it's really you're reading the words, like I can think of like Books I Hated, From Hell, which is just a lot of words, and sometimes you get a cool image and you're like, oh, that's nice. It's the opposite here, where you get a lot of cool images and once in a while you get a little piece of dialogue that you're like, oh yeah, that's good. So I would really prefer my comic books to be like this, to be honest. But I'm just surprised that J.A. isn't like that type of person too, because of how much he loves new movies and cinematography, and they would show the passage of time and it would just be like a 2-page spread with a giant circle in the middle and the day going into the night.
I also read this book on my iPad. I didn't read it as a hardcover the way you guys did, so there might be something in the medium creating a different impression as well. Unless they were programmed in where you would have to turn the iPad sideways, you don't know which pages are facing pages always.
Right. No, there's a lot of spreads here.
Again, maybe a nod to those folks that may be picking up Drome. Go the print version, baby. Digital is fine sometimes, but maybe not so much with this book.
You can get it from your local library, too. I'm sure that's what we did.
That's right. We did get it from our local library. And one thing that we didn't get from our local library is ratings. We've got to get to that section of our podcast right after this commercial break. So stay tuned for our final thoughts of Drome, well as ratings and recommendations.
Madison is on the air.
What happens when 20-something Madison is zapped into old-time radio shows? No technology.
I want to go to voicemail.
No Starbucks.
Don't call yourself a coffee shop if you only sell drip coffee.
And no one is PC.
I don't need no lip from...
Were you about to say woman? Because I'm wearing a gun and I have no idea how to use it.
Madison on the Air serves to highlight the way we were and the way we are today, with original radio drama scripts adapted to include the modern-day Madison as she joins famous characters from radio's past, including Sergeant Joe Friday.
Just the facts, ma'am. I've never actually said that.
Marshal Matt Dillon.
We're not having a shootout with a 10-year-old kid.
I'm too woke to be a part of this.
Superman.
I didn't realize how cold it would be flying like this.
I have to get into the higher atmosphere.
And many more. Visit us on the web at MadisonOnTheAir.com or find us pretty much any place podcasts can be found.
You talk so old-timey. I have no idea what you said, but it's adorbs.
Now we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our ratings, where you don't have to wrestle a Sky Bull in order to get a rating out of us. No, sir. Even if they kill your one true love, because Eye Patch Guy was pissed off that you didn't become another one of his conquests. Boy, howdy. We didn't even talk about that, about how like he gets spurned by Blue and then he just finds like these beautiful creatures out there, like this woman with these wings, and immediately just sexually conquers her and then rips her wings off, finds this other girl that has antlers, rips the antlers off of her.
Tries to put them on himself.
That's right. Like take their power for himself. A lot of symbolism in this book, but I think very fittingly so. So Jesse, mwah. I might as well go first, but let's get that rating scale from J.A. Go ahead, J.A.
I'm curious what he's going to pick because there's a lot of things to pick from.
1 out of 4 colors.
Ooh. I'm gonna go first. This is a 4. This could be actually a 6, 7, 8, 10. I don't know. This is one of the best books I've read, gosh, in probably the last 10 years when it comes to comic books, and really shows again how, regardless of whether or not you're just regurgitating past tropes and classic stories from mythology or whatever, if you do it interestingly and use the comic book medium in a way that makes me sit up and read your book 5 times, you've succeeded. Jesse Lonergan, you've succeeded in making a great book for the ages, in my opinion. This will go on my bookshelf of such books as Asterius Polyp, in which I'm no, you have to read Drome. That's real goods, yo. And there were so many really great moments in this. Blue and Red going and fighting the yellow energy creature, and they have that little moment where they find the nest, which I thought was great, the fact that the energy creature was also a female, and she had babies, and they accidentally open up one of the eggs, and then you see Red's face as he's like, oh shit. Say good, yo. And then they have to fight him, and then they figure out how to beat the energy creature by putting him in the water, and it's actually honestly sad when that energy creature dies. It wasn't its fault. That, again, it was just trying to exist and creating chaos. It's kind of like a kaiju or something. Just nice. The eye patch dude was a perfect villain. I don't care if he was cliche or whatever, because he was killing dudes from the start. He was the agent of chaos, and at the end of the day, him becoming the next Sky Bull and being a slave to chaos in the end. Again, he gets whipped across the sky. The bull is not a creature that you want to be. He is forced to do his job. And so I could just gush. I could gush and do it a whole show just about how much I love Drome. But I'll just say, one of the best books I've read in years. Chad.
So yeah, I'm going to echo the 4 just because this wasn't an easy book. And I appreciate the fact that different folks are able to take so much out of it in different ways. And I've read through this, 4 or 5 times by now, and each time I'm picking up something else or getting different ideas in my head. This book is, inspiring other avenues to look at things, and so do I think I have it yet? I honestly don't, but that's part of the fun, and so I can see being frustrated by this for the folks that aren't crazy about it. I get it, but I think the experience of playing with it and trying to wrap my brain around it and, approaching it from all these different avenues, and do think it's a worthwhile journey. I'm not going to go as far as Andy where I'm I'm going to give this to everybody. But I think I might continue to wrestle with it. It's fun too. It's not just an academic experience. It's not just an art experience. It's fun to dig in and try to work through it. And I don't think we've given enough credit to the inventive layouts and just the structures and forms in this book. And there's just so much there that I'm struggling to put words to because I wasn't given the words in the first place. And I have to figure that out on my own. Like I said, I think it's worth it.
I'm going to give it a solid 3 colors. And I feel like part of my downgrading it is just due to my own lack of interest and or knowledge of mythology stuff. Just not my thing. But I do appreciate the art of this book. Like I said, I think despite it not having a lot of narration or verbiage, I think you get the story. I did think it was beautifully done too. The colors and especially I liked the 80s part, the neon colors. But I do think that my rating may go up if I were to reread it. To Chad and Andy's point, it took a couple of read-throughs, and I finished reading it for the first time about 5 minutes before we started recording. So I certainly didn't have the time to reread or fully digest. So I will asterisk my rating with that.
All right. J.A., wrap us up.
Yeah, this is a book that I think I would like to reread in the physical format to see if it changes my appreciation of it or understanding of it or interest in it. I think the art is interesting, the layouts and the graphical elements, the panels and all the lines and whatnot. I think It really works when it's double page. It doesn't necessarily always work when it's a single page, as how I read the whole thing on my iPad. Had I read it on my computer screen double page, it might have changed my appreciation for the layouts a little bit more, because I've just been going through, as you guys have been talking, and just looking at the double page spreads a bit. There are a lot of them that, even if it's not supposed to be a double page spread, there's a lot of similarity between, or he's juxtaposing one page against the other page, which I didn't get. So I would like to go back and reread it in the physical format. As I read it, it just didn't really speak to me. It's 2.5 for me, which is, I feel, maybe a little bit low, but I also don't feel that I got the best representation of the book. So I can't really realistically give it any more than that. I didn't find it the most interesting story-wise. So then it comes down to the rating would be for the art and the layout and sort of how the story is being told. And I don't think it works on an iPad.
All right.
I think too, like some books, you just have to be in the mood. And I'm surmising that Jay just wasn't in the mood for this. Like you said, I think it just hits different times. No, I mean, how many times?
Yeah, no, we've all been there.
And had to put it down. Yeah. So I think maybe Jay and I were less in the mood.
Well, it does go back to my original point, though. It does benefit from multiple rereadings. I do think that Chad and I did hit a nail on the head. If you are going to try Drome, even if you didn't like it the first time through, I would highly recommend that you put it down, come back to it a few days later, maybe pick it back up again, look through some of the images at least.
Well, because for as quick as it does read, it is very dense with art. There's a lot of art on each page. Like there's a lot of nuance that you could probably pull out of it with a reread.
And none of us have mentioned the Jack Kirby of it all. There's so much Jack Kirby baked into this. Jesse Lonergan's art style.
It is channeling New Gods a lot.
Yes, absolutely. And so if that's your thing, it's definitely worth taking a look. I agree with Andy. The benefit of having some time to digest and go back to it, and I think that helps on this one.
And as you're rereading Drome, you might want to pick up other comic books to put in that pile that, again, in between your Drome readings. And that comes from our recommendations. Yes, these are other comic books in addition to Drome, which you can pick up at your local comic book store or bookstore or library. Again, that's where I got my copy originally, and now I'll be purchasing my own hardback copy to add to my bookshelf, but I initially got it from my local library. So make sure that you're checking out those places for these comic books. And we're going to start off with J.A. So J.A., what have you got this week?
So something that is also independent, but very different from Drone in that there is a lot of words, and it's all in black and white, and has just been re-released last November in a paperback volume. The first volume, and the second one is coming out soon. That is Total THB by Paul Pope, and Volume 1 collects, I believe, the first 4 issues of his comic that he released back in the 90s from his own Horse Press. And this is a story of a girl who lives on Mars, and her dad is a wealthy industrialist who builds robots. And one day he gives her this little rubber ball that's about the size of a pea, but if she puts it in water, sort of like Gremlins, it grows up into a 7-foot robot and becomes her bodyguard. And she thinks this is just all fun and games, but then her dad disappears and all of his enemies come after her to try to kill her. So the book goes on and tells basically her adventures trying to figure out what's going on. There's this conspiracy around her father and these robots that he's building while she's being protected by this THB giant robot that also is sometimes a ball. And parts of the time is like she loses it and it goes down a drain. So she doesn't have her bodyguard, and then her robot butler, sort of the Alfred of it all, figures out, well, I'll just pour water down the drain, and then he'll grow into the robot in the drain and pop out. And that's what he does. And, it's very interesting. It's very independent, and was just re-released. They took the original art and rescanned it So Total THB Volume 1.
Yeah, Paul Pope. I love Paul Pope, but did you do that because that's also released by 23rd Street Press, the same people that did Drome?
See, I'm so good. I didn't even know that, but it just naturally meshed.
Well, I'm going to go next, and my recommendation is also a comic book which I really feel like you can pick up for either the great story or the tremendous artwork, and it's called Feral. I know that a lot of folks have been talking about Feral over the past couple of years, done by writer Tony Fleeks with art by Trish Forrester, both of which have been previous guests on the Last Comic Shop podcast. But for those folks that may want something a little bit more, I don't know, straightforward, but yet still kind of cinematic, like I thought Drome was, you might want to pick up Feral. It's the story of Elsie, who is a kitty cat. And she has two fellow kitty cats in Patch and Lord, and they all come from a household. And at the beginning of the book, they're pulled away from their household, and they're in like a van being taken to some sort of detention center. And then the van goes off the road. And as they escape from the van and they're walking around the forest, all of a sudden, raccoons come out and they're rabid. And then foxes come out and they're rabid. And then dogs come out and other cats, and every other creature seems to be afflicted with rabies. And it's how are these cats, who again talk like it's a Disney movie, how are they going to survive this rabies infection that seems to be attacking all of the animals which are then killing humans and so forth, and you find out that it's a massive outbreak. Sound very familiar to zombie apocalypse stories? That's because it is, except the characters are not humans, they're cats and other dogs. Kind of told in that Don Bluth Disney style, with a lot of those horror elements and absolutely amazing covers. Tony and Trish do all of these great homages to classic horror movie posters for some of the covers, just tremendous. But if you really want a gripping kind of Walking Dead-esque story, but you also want to, again, include some of those Disney-type scenarios and stories with really good characterization, try Feral out. It made a believer out of me. I'm already into Volume 3, and there's, I think, a Volume 4 that just came out in trade paperback that you can pick up, where they go to, like, basically a PetSmart that's now become, like, the last bastion of humanity and how they have to fight the other cats and dogs. Nicole.
You do a whole nother podcast when you give your recommendation, right?
Jay had the rubber ball. He took 5 minutes about the rubber ball.
All right. Well, mine's going to be real short and sweet. So I haven't actually officially read this, but I have started it for a Goodreads first quarter of the year bookmark thing. And this is Lore Olympus. This is by Rachel Smythe from New Zealand. It was originally put out on the platform Webtoon starting in the late 20-teens, and now is up to a 11-part book series. So there's a lot of this, but if you like Greek mythology, which again, not my forte, so I'm trying to, learn as an adult by maybe digesting it through this new modern take on it. But essentially it is a modernization of the Greek goddess and god Persephone and Hades and their love story. And all I know so far is that they meet at a party. There's a lot of sexual tension.
Yes.
So we'll see where it goes from there.
I read this on the Webtoons for quite some time. Lore Olympus is really good.
We should mention it has won 2 Eisner Awards, 2 Harvey Awards, and 2 Ringo Awards.
Yes.
And supposedly for the last 6 or 7 years, it's been under development for a TV series, and finally it's supposed to come out through Prime, but I think it's still in early days. So you have to wait a while for that, I think.
Yeah. If you love some classic sexual tension and soap opera drama and all that jazz, plus beautiful art, really, really great art.
Lots of pinks.
Yes.
And blues.
Pastel.
Is it YA? Is it young adult? Because this is something that's been on the periphery of my radar for a long time, but I haven't actually read it yet.
I don't think it's young adult. I mean,
I haven't read enough.
I think if you were you could give it to high school kids. To be honest, they could enjoy this. I wouldn't go any lower than high school kids. It does get pretty. Yeah, there's some moments,
some steaminess,
some USA Up All Night. Some Silk Stockings-esque. Not so much scrambled porn, but It's getting there.
Hold on, sidetrack. What's USA Up All Night? What does that mean?
No, don't worry about it.
No, tell me. I want to know.
No. Chad, go ahead with your recommendation.
Okay.
She can Google it. It's fine. Chad, wrap us up.
One of my favorite books in the last couple of years was a book called Second Coming by Mark Russell and Richard Pace. And it tells the tale. Originally it was supposed to be a Vertigo book. And then they actually gave the rights back to the creators to publish it through Ahoy Comics. But it tells the story of if Jesus came back to Earth and was teamed up with a superhero. You know, their version of Superman. I think his name was Sunstar. But there were 3 6-issue volumes. They're wonderful. I really loved them. What I didn't realize was there was another issue done by that same creative team, Mark Russell and Richard Pace, with Jesus from the pages of Second Coming. But it's Toxie Team Up #1. So this one almost flew under my radar. I picked it up a few months after its release. But basically, it tells the story of the Jesus from those tales. He's working at a soup kitchen. You have like 2 cans of tuna, and he turns it into enough food for the whole soup kitchen. But he's there, and then Toxic Avenger is there, and he's the janitor. And, of course, there's an evil businessman who's turning toxic waste into an energy drink. And so you get both Jesus and Toxie trying to deal with this problem in their own special ways. But it was just a really fun dip back into that world. And I'm not always a Toxic Avenger guy, but I just really appreciated that this was out there. And if there's anybody else that didn't read the fine print when they saw the Toxic Avenger teaming up with Jesus, and they didn't see from the pages of Second Coming, it's in there. It's definitely worth your time if that's something that you enjoyed. So Toxie Team Up #1 is my recommendation this week.
And I do think at some point we do have to read Second Coming for no other reason than, again, the food court in the sky where all the dead franchises go.
The Rack Salad Bar, Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Both of which still exist in the Philippines.
Oh, man. Jolly B needs to finish the damn job.
The rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. One thing that we're hoping doesn't demise at any given point in the future is the Last Comic Shop. We're not planning on going anywhere. We're planning on being around for their entire rest of the season 6, as well as many years to come. And you can make sure that you're not missing any of our episodes by going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing on all of that myriad of podcasting platforms that we're available on. And we're available on all of them. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you will find The Last Comic Shop. So rate, review, subscribe, so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Just in a couple weeks, we've got Movie Mayhem, 4 straight weeks of movies paired with comics. We've got some really great ones coming up for that. We've got Lone Wolf and Cub. We've got the Howard the Duck movie. We've got Snowpiercer. And we're also going to revisit Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, just for Chad.
Anyway, just like our show is available in a myriad of places, so are your comic books. We mentioned today you can find some of these great books out there at your local libraries. You can find some of these great books at your local bookstores, or you can find them at your local comic shop. But we encourage you guys to get out there and support this graphic literature wherever you can. And in addition to Drome from Jesse Lonergan we read this week, we also talked about Total THB from Paul Pope, Feral from Tony Fleeks and Trish Forster, Laura Olympus, which is all the rage, the bookstores out there, and then Toxie Team Up, which might still be hiding on the stacks at your local comic shop. But all that and more waits for you. And so make sure you're checking that stuff out. And then once you're done, you can come back to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. You can find links to our socials where we're talking about all this stuff, as well as see Golden Age covers and comic book flip-throughs and links to articles from our buddy George on Apatapata. Plus, Jay has unlocked the door to our merch store. And what do we got this week, J.A.?
Well, this week we've got a special on armor that can be worn as a codpiece with a strategically placed Last Comic Shop logo.
That's right. So if your junk is enormously huge, put on armor that would fit other people's chest over your crotchal region Just make sure you're not missing that last comic shop.
Did you just make up a word?
Sure, why not? I make up words all the time on this podcast. Every single time somebody's name that comes with more than 3 syllables, I'm making it up. But one thing I don't make up is the fact that you can save money on your comic book supplies. And Nicole, the wonderful, beautiful, tremendous Nicole, is going to tell you how you can do that.
Man, he's really sucking up for something. Anyhow, yeah, if you go to BCW Supplies, you can find all of your stuff to like store your comics, like those long boxy things and those plastic covery things. They have stuff for like other collectibles too, right? I think there's stuff for like baseball cards and stuff like that. But anyhow, if you use the promo code LCSPOD, you can get a sweet little discount and show some love to us here at the podcast.
Absolutely. And until next week, when we hope that you come back to show some more love to our little podcast. I was the host with the most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith and J.A. Scott, as well as the darling, the adorbs, Nicole Larson. And we hope that you stay safe. Stay mythological.
Anyhow, are you going to close out the show?
Goodbye!
I was waiting for the bad dad joke.
I don't have any.
What?
I don't have any.
What did the ancient Greeks wear on their feet? Tennis Zeus.
See, it wasn't me this week.
Oh, wait, no, this one's better. What do you call a musician petrified by Medusa? A rock star.
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.